O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1 ounce 39 millimeter coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com. You're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show with your host, myself, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I am a multi-million-dollar business developer. I have developed business and real estate around the world, and I want to share with you my mental strategies, my technical strategies, and how I made it in the world of business. So I don't teach theory. I tell you about my life and introduce you to people who can also share with you what they've done to become successful. This is a practical show. This ain't a theory show. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
Peace and blessings, family, and assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. And today is a continuation of our series on the Black Muslim businesses. And I am your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. And the idea behind this show is to introduce you to industry disruptors, emerging market leaders, people that you need to pay attention to, people who are investment worthy. Listen, when you start talking about the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and our commitment to business, our passion about business, our passion about doing for self, and our commitment to the moral integrity and the moral compass that is given to us by these great teachings, I promise you, you will not find a group of people that are more investment worthy and more slated to be the next leaders in any industry that you put us in. And we're going to talk today about the food and beverage industry. I'm especially excited about that. We're going to be here today with Brother Chef Daryl Muhammad. Before I bring him on, I want to remind you all, make sure you pre-order your commemorative Elijah coin pendants immediately. Okay. It takes a lot, as you all have heard me say, for us to prep the copper to get ready to send it to the foundry. And so we had a little that had already been prepped. We sent it off and they weighed it and measured it out, told us we can get about another 125 pendants. Okay. So if you don't have your pendant yet, this is the one that the minister held up, the one that he and Mother Khadijah are going to take the picture and place it in the final call. Make sure you get yours, because once that happens, trust me, they're going to be gone. So you got to pre-order today. I'm saying today because by Friday it may be too late. So go to my Instagram page. There's a link right there in the bio. Make sure you get the pendant. There's only 125 of them available. I'll tell you more about that later. I'm going to bring on my brother Chef Daryl Muhammad. We're going to get right into this powerful conversation about food, about beverage. And food is political, and food is also how cultures spread. And so I want to introduce you today to a brother who is spreading our culture through the making and the development of food products. And he does a phenomenal job. So I want you all to meet Brother Chef Daryl Muhammad. Chef Daryl, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sister. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Pleasure to be on your platform and talk to our people about this amazing industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we are just, for years, we've been in the industry, but not in the industry.
Right.
So we had Aunt Jemima and we had Uncle Ben's, not knowing that we were not getting any benefit from that, and that somebody else was exploiting those pictures and using those likenesses, so that we probably did subconsciously pick up the Uncle Ben's rice and the Aunt Jemima pancake syrup and mix, thinking that we were supporting our own, only to find out years later that we sent other people's children to school.
Isn't that interesting how you bring up a good point, how subconsciously we may think, it's easy to think subconsciously that you're pro-Black, but even the powers that be have programmed everything so that if you aren't focused and intentional, if you don't say, look, I want to buy something, I'm going to buy some of Chef Daryl's products, and actually go in, for example, and buy them, then you aren't as pro-Black as you think you are, because pro-Black is a lifestyle, it's an intention, it's a system, and it's a process, and it takes action.
Exactly. And so when I looked at this industry, you know, my background has been working in restaurants for a number of years, all the way from high school all the way up until college years, and then worked at some of the best hotels and restaurants, but not really seeing any products that reflected me. And so one of the phrases that we use in our marketing campaign is, whose sauce is in your fridge?
Yeah.
And so when I had apprehension because people say, oh man, they're not going to buy it if you put your face on it. I said, well, the face is a reflection of who is the brand is representing, and myself, and the work that I put into it. And now we're out here, we're going national. We pretty much every day when I watch the orders coming in, there's not too many places in the country that we haven't shipped to, maybe Alaska and Hawaii,
Right.
you know. But other than that, we are out there, we're making our presence. But it's the condiment industry, and most of the condiments that are on the market are filled with high fructose corn syrup.
Mm-hmm.
They're filled with all kind of, if you read the ingredients and you can't recognize anything, then it's not good for you.
Right.
And it's $1 billion industry that we are just getting into. And one of the things that inspired me about the Nation of Islam and watching, I actually grew up in the Grove Hall section of Roxbury in Boston.
Okay.
And the Nation of Islam's Temple Number 11 fish market and bakery was in the heart of Grove Hall. And on every corner, a mile going down, I would say 2 miles going down Blue Hill Avenue, which was the main thoroughway, and 2 miles going up, there were Muslim businesses on every corner prior to 1975.
Yes.
And I lived in the middle, not really conscious of the nation of what they were about, but we shopped my mom would send me to purchase things in the businesses. So that was like the seed was planted, and I began to see it. And as I began to embark into this industry, the one thing that's really that I wanted to convey to the listening audience is now we're hearing the term supply chain issues. And the first thing that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did is he controlled the narrative by controlling the food supply.
Yes,
so when they baked the food, the biscuits, the bread, the bean pies, whatever the products were that were in your supermarket, they were coming from Muhammad's farm.
Yes.
We must get control of our food source. So it's not just enough that Chef Daryl puts out a product, but the source needs to be controlled. We need to control the navy beans, the sugar, the butter, the eggs, the honey, all of those things, the seasonings, all of those things need to be controlled by us if we're really going to be a major player in this market.
Livestock, yeah. The
livestock,
all of that. You know, before we get into the sauces, you mentioned the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and this man does not get credit for the number of different industries that he impacted, that he literally started, and that he is continuing to influence to this day. And I'm talking about beyond education and entertainment. Let's talk about the food and beverage industry and how the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have impacted the food and beverage industry to this very day. You alluded to it a little bit, but let's go deeper into that.
Yeah, so it was strange to hear the word kosher. And I know in reading How to Eat to Live, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted us to be careful of throwing that word around, kosher. And today we use kosher or halal, organic. These were all terms that are chic today to use. But the Nation of Islam was a pioneer in the sense that the followers were being taught to adhere to certain standards early on, all the way back into 1930, to make sure that we were kosher or halal, which simply means clean. And it's a process of which you're making sure that cattle or that livestock is slaughtered in a humane manner so that the bloodstream, the fear is not going into the bloodstream of the animal, nor the toxins and that animal is slaughtered in peace. And so that has a direct effect on the food we eat, because if we consume an animal that has been made to be fearful, then all of that in those glands and those
uric acid,
those endocrines will go back into our system.
Yes.
And so on the cutting edge of that, the restaurants in the Nation of Islam were clean, spotless. You would go in and get a certain level of high level of service. The food would be coming fresh and organic right from the farm. So that was a direct link to not just the eating of the one meal a day, but also what we were putting in our system in that one meal would prolong life. Now, millions of people they call it the 1 meal a day diet.
Or intermittent
so
fasting.
For intermittent fasting, and they have an acronym for that, abbreviation for that, but it simply means 1 meal a day. And we got teased about eating one meal. Now the scientists having a nutrition background, I can prove without a shadow of doubt that eating 6 meals a day is not as effective as eating the one meal, especially when you space that one meal out between 4 and 6 in the evening, and then you have the right caloric intake. Because that's just about one meal, but what are you getting in that one meal? Because if you're having one meal and it's just a grinder or some fries, then you defeat the purpose of the one meal. It's got to be, systematically balanced to get the effect that you want based on your height, your weight, and what kind of work you do.
Right. That's right. That's exactly
male
right.
or female.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's exactly right. And it's interesting how now the world is coming back around and still not giving him credit, but just picking up on what he started. Even the whole concept of culture, of being able to go to certain restaurants and experience certain aspects of Black culture, came from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the establishment of the various different restaurants and bakeries. And then from there, people started to say, okay, I'm opening up this kind of soul food restaurant and everything. But he made that very popular, very chic, and showed an example to other cultures that, yes, this can be done and people will eat your food.
Salam Restaurant is a prime example. Prior to 1975, you could see the crescent illuminated for miles, and people would be dining in. And for most of our people, that was the first time they had exposure to fine dining.
That's beautiful.
Chef Early Primus, we had Lana Shabazz. The list goes on of various cooks. Sister Betty in her book, Cooking. Yes, I mean Dolores Ali. So many. The list just goes on. And we all are benefactors of that great work, that legacy, and I try to uphold that even with some of the dishes that I make. I tweaked it, but they didn't originate. Some of the great things that I do originated from being around the pioneers, and having access to them, and they would say, brother, now this is the way I want you to make this. Don't deviate from this recipe. Make sure that it's reflective of what we've given you.
Brother Daryl, one of the sisters and I were talking the other day, and we were talking about how when we became MGT in our early 20s and we were taught how to make bread, make pies, we were cooking. And I remember, and both of us looked at each other and said, when I learned that, you couldn't tell me nothing. And to this day, I pride myself on being able to present really beautiful. And if you come to my house, I will cook and make sure it's nice, the dishes, the aesthetics, and all of that. And literally just the other day, someone sent me a video of one of our pioneers wearing her commemorative Elijah coin. And she was so grateful and started to talk about the history. And I just boo-hooed, because what an honor for us to be standing on the shoulders of these great people who sacrificed so much for the spread of Islam in America among our people, as a way to transform us from that lost and dead way and to elongate our life. It's such an honor. So tell
cooking,
us about sauces and products. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. You're going to say something. Cooking what?
cooking is an art. It's an art form that sometimes, when people use the word chef, there are cooks, there are chefs, there are various degrees of chefs. Some have formal training, some have been apprenticed under some chefs, some have gone to Paris. I have had an opportunity to go to Paris, and explore some of the baking facilities there. They're very serious about it, but the nation, in its humble beginning, did not have that opportunity, but we attracted people who had worked in some fine dining establishments, may not have had, some have had formal, but many did not have the formal, but they could outcook some of those who have had the formal. And I've been, I was around a sister in Boston, Sister Shirley Muhammad. She's the wife of Minister Don Muhammad. She used to make fish sausage.
Yes.
Her fish sausage was second to none. You wouldn't know that you were eating fish if she didn't tell you. And yet she had no formal training, but there were a lot of dishes that she taught me to make. And, I'm pleased today to be able to pass that legacy on. But this is an industry that we need to get in.
Yes.
I learned how to bottle. I learned all of the background things that you needed to know at first and so we're taught to qualify ourselves before we step out. There are wide open fields. This is a wide open market, but I challenge people to do your homework, because there are a lot of guidelines. There are a lot of things that you have to do to make sure that those products are coming out and that they're approved. You have to have the barcodes. You have to have the, sample tests in a lab to make sure that there's certain acids, shelf life and all of these type of things. And these are the things that I've done and taken the guesswork out. And now even with the packaging, from people remember how the packaging looked when I first started versus what it looks like today. And, we have some packaging that is second to none, and I've been able to assemble a team of graphic designers, social media managers, and photographers that all look like me and you. So we're keeping that money in the circle, because a lot of times we go into the supermarket and now it's chic. Again, everything is organic. That is a industry that is being manipulated.
Really?
And everything is lightly monitored. So a lot of people, don't just grab something. Somebody said, well, it's all natural. Well, how can Pepsi be all natural? So they just put the tag on something, it's all natural. Then you said, well, this doesn't make sense. There's nothing natural in here. But if they put one thing in there that constitutes being able to use the all natural label, and that's where How to Eat to Live has to be the guidance for those who subscribe to that. And if you're not in the Nation of Islam and you simply want to lengthen your life and your health, then I challenge you to read that book, and openly understand that what they're trying to do is to adjust your digestive process in a way that you all illness starts in the stomach.
It does.
Most people, to see someone in extended
website, because people are asking for it in the chat.
Sure. My website is chefdarylsfoods.com.
Okay. The digestive system, go ahead.
So that digestive system is very important, because most of the times you're going to notice somebody who's sickly, they've got an extended stomach.
Right.
It's not just that you're put on weight, but a lot of excess mucus. And so what we tried to do in looking at putting these sauces together is all like going down the list, my sweet and tangy sauce, which I have a bottle here. Most of the people in your listening audience might be familiar with this, because it was part of ABLE, and it's also part of the Staple Goods program. And I sell out every year at Savior's Day. Thank you, those of you all who are listening who may be customers from Savior's Day. Then we got the honey mustard, which we hadn't had in the past. This is real honey mustard, real mustard seed, real honey in this sauce here. And then we have the hot and spicy. Now, this is not a hot sauce. It's hot, but I didn't call it hot sauce because it's a whole new market when you go into the hot sauce market. And I wasn't trying to compete and put out a this is not something that's going to burn your palate. This is something that's going to give you that spice that you're looking for, but not, take away from your taste buds. But we use real peppers.
The whole sub-industry of the sauce market. Right? You're touching on something that ties into what I've been saying over the past 2 years since I've been doing this series. And that is that the reason what makes us investment worthy is because our standards are higher than the industry standards that just say you just need a few drops of this or that ingredient to say you're natural or organic. We have a moral compass so that people who are ordering your stuff, and we'll get into the other products as well, will be able to trust it and to be able to know it and know that it is an offspring, right, of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that will not kill you. It's just not chemicals thrown in there together. And going back to that digestive system, it gives us an opportunity to teach, right? Because one of the things that we can all learn is that when we catch ourselves, maybe we get a little pudgy in a certain area, we know, okay, let me fast so I can cleanse myself. Let me eat certain things, and so you use your food as a medicine and as a way to promote your health. When do you need to keep that pot of bean soup on the stove so that you're eating it and boosting your immune system? I mean, the pandemic, that bean soup was more of a staple for me than any other thing that I had been eating because of the nutrients in it. So that's incredible that you're really taking that model and moving it to another level. My mind is just going 1,000 miles a minute, just for you and in gratitude for you and what you're doing.
Thank you, sister. And sodium.
Yes.
Sodium is in everything. So sodium and sugar. Now, there are a lot of people that don't. There's hardly nothing on the market that doesn't have sugar in it.
Why do
that's by design.
Brother Daryl.
What was that last question?
Why do they put so much sodium and sugar in everything?
To keep you sick. Because and so it's the powers that be want to get money on all fronts. They get money when you come into the world, they get money while you're here, and they get money when you leave.
Right.
They have figured out how to be the bloodsuckers of the poor. And one of the ways that you do it is if I'm putting sodium in everything, I'm guaranteed that person at some point is going to have high blood pressure.
Right.
Or going to have some health issue. And then I put sugar in everything, especially the white bleached sugar, And if I got those two things working on your system, then I'm shocking the system. So your body is constantly in a constant state of shock, trying to fight off all of these chemicals.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the things, monosodium glutamate, MSG. So if you're at home and you have a taste for Chinese food,
which is the number one soul cuisine right now.
And I want to drive from, 2 miles away on a Friday in the rain or snow to get this Chinese food. You don't know that it's not just that the Chinese food tastes, what made it taste good is that the MSG is a manipulator, and it causes you to crave.
Yes.
So you're craving this. And so you drive and you go get it. Now they get slick and they say you can ask if you don't want the MSG. It's a big scoop of powder that they scoop in, they put it in the wok, and they, mix it around, and then you have it. Well, that MSG is in a lot of products. So you keep your sodium level high, keep your sugar level high. So then you got to take medication.
Right.
So that's a $1 billion industry that's unregulated. So they say it's regulated, but it's really not.
They also use sodium to preserve things, right? To extend the shelf life.
So you can put so there's various variations of those preservatives.
Okay.
For so the sodium phosphate, sodium hydrate, and so there are various forms of those sodiums. One are stabilizers, but you're also imagine putting something that's designed to stabilize in an organic body. So anything that's inorganic, the body is this body is designed to like it has an alarm system, and anything that comes in that's inorganic, body's going to react to it. It doesn't know that, these Doritos and these chips and this ice cream and all of this stuff, diethylsylbesterol, which is in ice cream, cheese, dairy products. So you got cheese that could sit out in the supermarket unrefrigerated for months that they had called welfare cheese. Now some of that same additives are in there. So we have to become a food scientist. So the Savior wanted us to be, we use the term scientist, but it just simply means that you are studied in a particular field of endeavor, and that science of the food, knowing what's going in it, what they're putting in it. So, we try to create products that don't have it. So I have low sodium seasonings. Now the name of this company is Mo Spices. This is our seasoned salt. We have the adobo. We have a lemon pepper. We have a sriracha. We have a hot chili. We have Italian. We have a lot of different spices. I don't carry the whole line on my platform. I carry about 5 of them, but it's a sister, Monique, out of Mosque number 15, Mo Spices. Shout out to her. She does an amazing job.
Yes.
And I really do. And the other thing is, I do not endorse that which I don't use. Or I haven't tried it. There are a lot of people that send me free stuff, and they're caking agents. They'll say it's all natural, but then you have caking agents, and the caking agents are not natural. So I don't use products that have seasonings that have caking agents. So you pay a little bit more, and that's why we consider ourselves to be an all natural gourmet brand.
Gourmet, yeah.
And I want to talk about, even in pricing, when you're at the level that I am trying to scale, you have to buy the supplies in large quantities.
Right.
So if you're not buying 10,000 bags at a time, under 10,000, you're at a certain price point.
Right.
So you need to be at the 50,000. Then you got to go to China. So when they had a lot of these things, you couldn't find any bottles. There was at one point where I had a large order and I couldn't find any of these 12-ounce bottles. The other thing that I do is that these are BPA free bottles, meaning that these bottles do not sweat the chemical back into the bottle, which would then go into the food. So I had to look for specific bottles. I have a tamper resistant cap that is also a flip top, because when I first started, I just had a regular cap. But then brothers and sisters said, man, I went through that bottle in a week or a day. I said, really? Yeah, I just open the thing and pour the whole thing in. I said, well, this is why the flip cap is in, because it's going to regulate how much comes out. Not that I don't want to have sales, but I don't want someone pouring a whole bottle of this in one setting on some chicken or what have you, because everything is in moderation. Even with natural products, consumption should still be in moderation, because too much honey, too much agave, or whatever you're putting into the product can be harmful.
Yeah. So I have 2 questions, and I want to go back to more of a practical use so that our people who are listening understand. Let's go back to the low sodium. You know how you get like seasoning salt? I was looking at some stuff online before I set up to talk to you. And in the seasoning salt, some of them have over 500 milligrams of sodium per serving. And, for just a little shake, that's a lot. Right. What's a safe milligram, or maybe I should say, what is that? What is Mo's seasoning, so that people understand what low sodium means?
Well, I can tell you right now, we are at 85 milligrams, which is almost unheard of. Now the average would be 300.
Right.
The average product has about 300 milligrams of sodium, which is, that's almost what you need for the day.
That's right.
So that means if you're eating all these other things.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. You have a little bit of this, you have a little bit of that. And before you know it, you look at what the national average or the national standard for a particular thing is. So for protein, average person taking about 15, 20 grams of protein.
Right.
Well, you having your chicken, then you had this over here, and then you had that, and before you know it, you look down and say, man, you can own the too much protein in the system. You can tell for a male, one of the things, if you have clouded or a foam in the urine, it's an indication that the kidneys are not doing their job and you have too much protein in the system.
Yep.
And so I approach my cooking with a holistic approach, because I'm still trying to, not only for my customer base, but for myself, trying to stay healthy.
Yes.
And so the mission here is not just the dollar of creating a business, but a business with a sustainable mission statement, which is eating to live.
That's why eating to live is so important. I mean, as you know, being in the vascular surgery industry, we have so many people that come in and they say, oh, I'm working out and I'm on a high protein diet. Well, those protein molecules are so big and it makes the kidney overwork. And so people are blowing out their kidneys or wearing down their kidneys trying to have this diet, wherein if they would just sit down, read How to Eat to Live, look at how to eat one meal a day and how to work that in with your exercise, they will find that they'll preserve their organs, because when the kidney has to work that hard, it will give out on you, or it'll just not process as well. And then your blood pressure will be uncontrollable as well.
An attack on the pancreas.
Yep. The
from
liver.
the sugar.
Yep.
And then I have folks, I don't use any sugar. I use stevia, I use agave, I use honey. And how much form? Even I use natural, raw, organic sugar when I bake.
Right.
But when you heat the sugar, you cause what's called crystallization. And so you're heating the sugar and too much of it. So, it's good to have bean pie. You're getting the benefit of the navy bean, getting everything in it and what have you. But if you're going to sit down and eat a whole deep dish bean pie in one setting, you are wreaking havoc on your adrenal system and your pancreas and your body. Because it's something called ash that happens in the body, and the body's overloaded. So that's why when we take the 3-day fast in the beginning of the month, and then we have Ramadan, we have all of these things. There's science behind it, because it's giving the body a chance to heal than what you give it. So green drinks, a lot of green drinks, a lot of certain fruits and vegetables, where you can actually come out of a pre-diabetic state and back and bring your glucose levels down by what you eat.
Right. Going back to your sauces, I like sauce. It's funny because you sent me a set of your sauces, and I made some chicken with it, and some of my coworkers stole the sauces. It was so funny. I was like, wait, that's how much they like them.
I forgot all about that.
No, you did. It was around the holidays, and I made something and I brought it to the office, and some of the people who know me really well was like, what? They were like, Wendy, what's that sauce? And I was like, oh, it's these. I had them on my desk, actually. And a couple of people's like, oh, well, I'm taking this, I'm taking that. I was like, all right, fine. So I definitely have to make sure that I order some more. But I will say that they are actually very good. I like them because they weren't they weren't real sugary. They weren't, even the hot one that you sent me, it's not so hot where it's just overly salty. It actually gave the food flavor. And I use one of them on an African stewed chicken dish that I make, where I just, when I stew the chicken, I use the sauce to give it a little kick. But I wanted you to talk about a couple of ways in which people can use sauces, because most people just think of using sauces, Chef Daryl, like after they cook their food and then they just put the sauce on there. But there's ways. I use my sauces in the cooking process.
So with my hot and spicy now, I'm going to send you another, because this is a new improved version of what I originally started with. And I actually stumbled across this, and before I made this public, I used it to create, I like General Tso's chicken. So I took some brown rice,
Okay.
made the brown rice, added to the side, onions and green peppers, had all three, the orange, the red and the green, yellow, peppers, onions, put it all together.
Okay.
And some garlic in there, sauteed that. Then I took some boneless chicken.
Okay.
And I lightly breaded it.
Okay.
Cooked that using our breading mix. And once I got all three together, I took the chicken, the vegetables, and excuse me, I also added broccoli to it. Put that all back into the saute pan, and then took and drizzled the hot and spicy over it, then put it over the rice. Oh, sister.
Oh, I'm doing that.
I mean, I was biting the fork. It was so good. And I said, oh man, so we don't have to, you have a taste for the Chinese food, you can make it at home. There are a lot of low sodium ways because it's the sodium. And I'm gonna tell you something. In high school, I was a Bruce Lee fanatic.
Yeah.
Martial arts was my thing.
Yeah.
I love it. And so I went to school with a kung fu outfit on. Black pants, mandarin collar, black top with the little white thing that you snap on in the inside. And this Chinese kid was laughing at me in my classroom in science class. Never forget this. And I said, what are you laughing about? Just what y'all wear in your country? He said, no, we don't. Only people that wear that is the rice farmers and the peasants and the very poor.
Right.
So we wear suits, ties, classy. So I said that to say that the Chinese people, if you've ever been standing in the window of a Chinese restaurant and you happen to watch them eat, they do not eat the Chinese food that they sell.
Absolutely.
None of it.
Absolutely right.
They don't eat egg foo young.
Nope.
They don't eat any of the dishes that they sell. You'll see them with chopsticks in their hand eating white rice and vegetables or some type of meat, grilled meat product in with the rice and the vegetables. They commercialize that Chinese food and they sell it, and they sell out mostly in the urban areas. Everyone comes to the urban market. It is told in other countries that if you want to get rich, go to the African American community. They'll buy anything that you produce. You have the sweet and tangy sauce. Now I can do a meatloaf.
Okay.
I can do chicken wings.
Like what about like a
baked goods? What was it?
Maybe like lentil loaf.
Yep, you can do a lentil loaf, and put it over. So you got the lentil loaf in the oven, and when it's at 70%, same thing with the meatloaf or something. It's at 70%, then you go over it with the sweet and tangy, and you finish it off because you don't want it to burn.
Right.
But it's honey in it, and so that honey is going to caramelize to anything hot.
Okay. Got it.
I do omelets, home fries. We at Savior's Day, sisters came up to me. And I believe that the MGT are my best critics because they're going to give it to me straight. They said, brother, I don't know what you're putting in this sauce, but our children now eat vegetables. There are people who come up to me and say they buy 3 and 4 bottles, keep it in the refrigerator because the children love it. It's the honey.
Yeah.
And so the child don't want broccoli. You put some of the sweet and tangy sauce on it, and then there you have it.
I make carrot fries, cut them in the oven with a little olive oil. And so I think that sauce will go good on those, like the sandwich night or something like that.
Right. And so carrot fries, if you want to give that carrot fry a little crunch. You got the Chef Daryl's chicken and fish breading mix, but also for vegetables. Okay. So you'll take that olive oil and you submerge the carrots in the olive oil, then in the breading. Okay. Then in a little bit more oil, then back into the breading, and then you put them in. If you either are you baking, or you using air fryer, or what way? Okay, in the oven. So same thing with I can show you how to do an oven baked French fry, oven baked chicken. I know there are a lot of plant-based products. I want folks to beware of the soy. Yeah. And a lot of the other things that they put in there. You can actually make your own navy bean burgers. And
speaking of that soil, Chef Daryl, I know I was taught as a young MGT about not using soil. Of course, that's in How to Eat to Live, but we were really taught about that because of how it impacts you hormonally.
Yes.
And that soy is really bad. So I stay away from vegetarian substitutes. Like I don't eat the fake chicken and all of that kind of stuff. If I'm gonna eat chicken, I just eat my chicken. I get halal chicken and eat it.
Right.
I try my best. There's a store near me that has halal. So I'll try to make sure all my meat products, if I buy really just chicken or lamb, that it's halal. But I got to try that with my carrot fries because I make now you got me talking about food. I make a eggplant panini.
Mm-hmm.
And so my carrot fries that go with that, I'm gonna get some of your breading and give them a little crunch now.
Yeah, and you can play with it. I use egg. I dip my chicken, sometimes certain things in eggs, or egg with a little bit of milk.
Mm-hmm.
Make a whitewash, like a batter mix, and then put it in there. You don't want to use too much. I also marinate all my meat.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't, my lamb, my chicken, I'm going to marinate, leave it in there so it's right down to the bone.
Mm-hmm.
We do. I just sold out of peach cobbler and bean pie.
So you actually ship bean pies and peach cobbler?
Yes. So I ship bean pies, peach cobbler, and my bean pie. When we talk about mathematics, which we always told a term out there, 30 to 40 million Black people. Well, none of us have the capacity right now that on any platform when no one is scaled to the point where we're reaching all of that.
Amen.
And in 1976, there was a article it was called The Accomplishments of the Muslims. Yep. And on the cover, it said America's newest pie sensation. It's a pie that you cannot get in the regular supermarkets. A lot of people who are selling the pie they discredit the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
But will exploit the bean pie. I don't understand that. So I definitely speak on that when I see people holding the pie up and they are from other communities and they say something negative about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but you believe in his pie because you can monetize that and make money. And I'm not going to let that happen without speaking to it.
That's
so,
right.
I make a bean pie that has been voted #1 on the East Coast. Our dear brother, student regional minister Hafiz Muhammad, said, wherever may Allah be pleased with him, everywhere he would see me. He said, "You got that for me?"
Yeah.
Before the greeting, sometime he'd be, "Brother, you got me?" And he said, "Brother, you make one of the best pies." And I started making the bean pie 22 years ago.
Okay.
And I was never pleased with my pie. I'm a perfectionist. So I always thought the sister who taught me how to bake bean pie is Sister Halima Muhammad out of Mosque 24 in Richmond, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
But I had Sister Willie Mae Muhammad out of New York City, who was one of the premier bean pie makers. And then you had Brother Terry out of California at Shabazz restaurant. Both of them tried my pie. I said, "Brother, you got something."
Got it.
And they helped. They gave me a few tips here and there. And I'm a bean pie connoisseur. When I go to Savior's Day, my wife would tell you, I buy at least 2 or 3 pies. She said, "Why are you buying pies when we got pie?" Because I want to see what's out here. And I always felt like, some of the best pies came off the West Coast. That was just especially the deep dish pie.
They got good pies, especially in Northern California.
So that was my litmus. I used to get one of those pink box bean pies. Yep. I said, "Man, there's something about this pie." And I just kept at it. And then about a year ago, I brought the pie to the mosque and everybody was just like, "Listen, you got something." We sent it to regional captain here, Brother Majid. He said, "This brother's showing out how to bake a pie." So we want to do justice by that. To all that are baking, I say stick to the recipes. Don't dilute it. Don't put things in it that are not part of the original. Don't put pudding mix, and dyes and colorings and all of that kind of stuff in it, and just offer it to our people because we're trying to. I look at business like this. We were giving them mathematics for a reason.
We were.
So when we told how many people on the planet, when people order from me, it's not just Black people.
Right.
There's people from all over that have never had it. You know, I've taken it to events where white only, and they sold out. So we primarily want to get our people away from the lard-filled, preservative-filled desserts and get them.
You're decolonizing our tongues. That's what the
Right.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad was doing. He was teaching
Right.
us to look for different flavors and that kind of stuff. And I think when you start adding stuff, I'm not like that with the pies, but I'm like that with bean soup. I'm a bean soup connoisseur. I learned from the old school sisters on how to make bean soup, and people would tell me, "Oh, your bean soup should be in restaurants." But I taste other bean soup, and that's kind of like you. It's kind of like a little hobby. Like, let me see.
I have a favorite saying that I get the same answer to, no matter how many times I ask it.
Okay.
Who made this bean soup?
Yeah.
And my wife gives me the same answer, the MGT.
That's
she
right.
will not throw anyone under the bus. She's just going to say, the MGT, brother, you want it or you don't. But
That's
I like chili. I like a chili inspired bean soup.
Yeah, me too.
There was a sister that made bean soup, and it was kind of chili inspired. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh man, there was some good whole wheat bread. And we had a bread coming out of the Salam restaurant. Brother Abdullah Yassin was a couple of years ago was doing bread. It was the best bread I have ever had.
Wow.
If you're listening, Brother Abdullah, you need to get that bread back, or somebody needs to get that bread back, because all of the bread, even at Whole Food, either has canola, which is a form of grapeseed, which is not good for you, or soy.
Yeah.
Then you have the hibernated wheat. This wheat that we got that is, it's not good. It's not the real wheat that the scriptures is talking about. So we got to get our wheat bread back, and we all use it. We need to mass produce and get our wheat bread back. So, I can't do it all.
No, I know. So Chef Daryl, so we people are in the chat saying everything sounds so good. We're going to push this so people can start ordering, help you get those numbers up, and really, really push, because this is so very, very important. Hold up those sauces again so people can see them, because we got MGT on here in the chat.
We got honey mustard, sweet and tangy, hot and spicy. We got the low sodium seasonings.
Got the breading.
The chicken and fish breading mix.
Okay.
And our world famous bean pie. All right here on chefdarylsfoods.com.
Okay.
And I'm representing you also when you look in on the bottle and you see your brother with his bow tie. And I'm trying to, scale this to the point where we are in stores. And I also want to inspire any brother and sister that might be watching who has something that they've been, they do very well, but they've just been a little shy. You can do it. Seek refuge in Allah. Ask it in the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the God who came in the person of Master Farah Muhammad. The minister asked us, he gave us assignment. He said, close your eyes and can you envision it?
Yes.
And then he said, you got to get up and go to work. And that's what I have been able to do. And my mentor was Minister Don Muhammad. He's a very serious businessman in Boston.
He was.
And I came to the Nation of Islam at age 16.
Did you come through Brother Don?
I came in, Brother Don had not stood up yet. Oh, well, let me just say this. The minister had 3 study groups going on at the same time in the same city, and we didn't know about one another. So the sisters who had the study group, her name was then Sister Doris. She's now Sister Karima. She lives in Tennessee. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. I call her Mom because she was that to me. But at age 16, just shy of my 17th birthday, I had come into the nation, but in my zeal and excitement, I got into a little scuffle at home, my parents, that escalated and they put me out.
Okay.
And when I went to the study group that Sunday, I noticed everybody scurrying around like somebody very important was coming. And sure enough, to my surprise, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Brother Kareem from Plainfield, New Jersey came walking up the stairs, just the 2 of them, into the study group. And before he got into what he was there to do, they made him aware that there was a young man in the study group who had been put out. He was underage, and they weren't sure what to do. And he took me into a room where he closed the door, just he and I, and asked me a series of questions. And one of the questions that he said that I just want to share is after I told him how bad things were at home, he said, "I don't care if your mother and father are in the gutter, respect them." Yes. He told me about his own sons. Yes. And he said, "I have sons your age." He said, "Do you want to go back there?" I said, "No." He called a brother who was there at the time, called him into the room, saying, "Brother Rodney." And he said, "Well, you take him home until he's 18. And so I finished school. I finished high school living with these 3 Muslim brothers that the minister had put me in the care of. And we are friends to this day, all 3 of the brothers. And but beautiful. Those beginnings, and I had good shepherds. I had Sister Virginia in Boston, who was the secretary, Minister Don, his wife, several of the believers there took this young 16-year-old in and helped shape me today. So Chef Daryl's is a reflection of those folks working with me and doing this. And I'm just so inspired. And Sister, you inspired me because I went to Savior's Day maybe 3 years ago. You were on the panel.
Oh, yes.
And I was sitting there listening intently to what you had to say. I was so inspired. And I was so inspired that I had to get me.
Praise be to Allah.
My coin. How can we be in the nation? When I first heard that the house was available, it was through Brother Abdullah Yassin.
Yes.
He reached out to me, said, "Brother, the Elijah Muhammad's house, my father's house, is on, up for, they trying to take it." And I said, "What you need?" We started, sending a few dollars to him. And then we found out that Allah blessed you to come in. But I'm saying to anyone, regardless of where you at and what you're doing,
thank you.
You need to get this coin. We need to make sure that this home we can't have this. Even when I found out that the house across the street where his daughter lived was sold at auction. We can't too many people have died, sweat, blood, and tears for these properties that today, we need to put our money out there. We spend our money on a lot of different things. And next time you get ready to order Uber Eats or Grubhub or one of these things, deny yourself from going in and get you some bean soup or something and take that $30, $40 that you was going to spend, put it to the side and give, so that we can all have this. And I hold this, I keep this. This is my most prized possession. The day that I got it, I could tell you, sister, I was so happy to have, I felt like I had a part of of the exalted Christ with me. And I know that I do. And then I hear the stories.
That copper is from his home.
Yes.
You really honestly do. And that means so. You don't know how much I needed that today, because this is a big journey. And we're right here at the end, about 15% left. And it's like I'm crawling to the finish line. I'm like, come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. And so
it's nation time.
It's nation time. It's
been nation time. Up, you mighty nation, and accomplish what you will. And don't let no naysayers, don't let nobody get in your ear about this. This is our home. This is the residence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And as the minister said, when he returns, he knows whose house it is. He said, they'll have somewhere for me. That was powerful if you understood. And we got our dear, beautiful brother, Imam Sultan Rahman, who I believe was born for this day.
And was born in that house.
And born in that house. And we got the executive council. If there was ever a time, I'm saying to all of those, hold on.
Came last Thursday.
Yeah, hold on, believers. This is not the time to dip out. It's not the time to get disgruntled. Hold on to Islam.
Yeah.
Fight for your own, and but we need businesses.
We need
the teachings without businesses. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad started off with his family. He had a small restaurant, then it expanded. I'm also part of the Hereafter Farms project.
Oh, you
my
are?
Goal is yes. So my goal is to move my operation to Georgia.
Okay.
So that I can get the raw materials to mass produce. And I also want to, if there are any other cooks and business owners, we need a commercial kitchen.
Okay. In Georgia?
We need it, yes, in Georgia, we need a commercial kitchen, probably about 10 to 20,000 square feet kitchen.
Okay.
But maybe we could get it done with 10,000 square feet. But the benefit would be if there are other brothers and sisters who have products, we could share the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we could
you can just
label,
line up. Yeah.
you know, put our own. Do you know that I found out a big industry secret that I'm going to let out right now? I went to a bakery.
Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
And the secret is that they will use one bakery to produce all the supermarket's bread.
That's right.
They just changed the bag.
That's right.
So if I had Hereafter Farm sauce or Chef Daryl sauce, it's the bottom line is we got to get past our own egos, and we have to, you know, Hereafter Farms, it's a visionary concept that is bigger than what it looks like now. For the minister said we need millions of acres. We got 30 to 40 million of our people, and then we got other people who are joining, who are honorary members that have approached me and said, we love the Nation of Islam. We love Minister Farrakhan. They don't look like me and you. How can we help? So they're waiting. This is our time.
I get a lot of support and encouragement from people regarding the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House from people who don't look like us. And so I'm encouraging you, Brother Daryl, keep your name and your face out there.
Thank you, sister. I really thank you for this opportunity.
No, keep your name and your face out there. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I first got the home and we were getting pushback from some particular politician who shall remain nameless, I kept calling. I kept having my staff and people on the team to call. Let's try to get to the bottom of what's going on. And the person never answered. And I said, okay, Allah, what do I do? This is before it got really public. And that next day when I woke up, the city council knew about it. Everybody was mad at this particular person, but everybody was calling me because they said, well, Wendy, this is about you, or Sajdah, this is about you. Yes. I said, well, about me, how? They said about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. And I prayed on it. And what Allah said to me, you go, use your name and your face. And I asked the minister about it and he agreed. And so prior to that, Brother Daryl, I was just kind of trying to be obscure, remain in obscurity. And I've kind of done that all my life with my accomplishments. And so when I got the house, the minister said I came out of the woodwork, out of obscurity, because nobody knew that I was working like a little busy bee doing all the things that I was doing. But it's time now for us to use our name and to use our face. We are investment worthy. We have something to be proud of. We know our stuff. And I put my money on the Muslims. We know our stuff. We've been through enough. We've studied. And this is part of our lifestyle to know what we're doing. We're taught not to even jump out there unless we know what we're doing. So the investment world that's out there, you can bank on us. You can invest in us. We're going to disrupt these industries, and there's going to be a shift
Come on now.
of wealth. See, Master Farad Muhammad's not going to take our man from us and not shift the wealth in our way so that we can support our nation and survive. It's coming. We just have to get ourselves ready and be ready. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I got your back, whatever you need. I'm about to go on here and order some stuff now. And let's make sure we get together. We got a whole How to Eat to Live kitchen. And I would love to see different Muslim chefs rotating in and up out of there so people can really see that we can own this industry and do it right from the messenger's home.
We are on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Chef Daryl's Foods.
Okay.
And again, you can go to chefdarylsfoods.com. We have all kind of savings. We got bundles.
Okay.
So thank you. Stay strong, believers.
I appreciate you and everything. Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful conversation. We went a little bit over time. I know some of you all that on y'all lunch break, y'all looking like, wait a minute. But listen, I wanted to remind you again, make sure you pre-order your commemorative Elijah coin. We had enough extra copper for 125 more. We want to get those orders in this week. We need you to pre-order. So go out there, go to Instagram, Sajdah House, SAJDAHHOUSE. Click the link in the bio and pre-order your coin. Make sure you do that today. All right, peace and blessings, family. And stay tuned for more of these shows about this emerging new market and these industry disruptors that are on the scene. Peace and blessings.
Muslims, you shouldn't be around here looking to white people to give you a job. Go look in message to the black man and the economic blueprint. And if there are 4 of you, 6 of you, 8 of you together, pool your resources, go into business and set up business all over the south and west side of Chicago. But if you poor and we poor, hell man, we can't be around here poor. I want to see rich Muslims. And if you obey Allah, there's no reason why you can't make a business successful. You just have to get up and stop being lazy and trifling and go do something for yourself.
But I want you to remember that you're in the day and time when that you can, if you want to, be a great nation.